This is Fulcrum, and in this video I will be reviewing the CR-2. The weapon was wielded by the Naboo security force during the Phantom Menace. The heavy blaster pistol is the second unlock for the assault class and requires 200 assault kills to unlock. I do not sit particularly well with this being an assault weapon, as it is ultimately a pistol and should belong to the officer class. The blaster deals 16 damage up to 15 meters and drops off to 8 damage from 30 meters. Combining this with a rate of fire of 900 rounds per minute means that the CR-2 has the second highest damage per second in the game at less than 20 meters. The CR-2 gains just 0.2 heat per bolt, allowing it to fire 50 bolts and deal 800 damage before overheat, putting it on par with heavy weapons in terms of shots to overheat. The gun also passively loses 0.6 heat per second and has a vent time of just 1 second, meaning overall the CR-2 has excellent cooling power. The CR-2 has a maximum aim down sight spread angle of 1.1 degrees and a maximum hipfire spread angle of 1.2 degrees. This means the gun is very inaccurate and becomes ineffective at only moderately further ranges. This inaccuracy can be managed slightly by tap firing. Since the blaster has a first shot spread angle of just 0.5 degrees, however, due to the blaster's low damage, bursting this slowly means that although more shots are hitting the target, it is dealing damage too slowly to outgun opponents or kill them before they reach cover. The gun also has fairly high recoil, which is reasonably difficult to compensate for because of a horizontal sway which pushes the crosshairs off target. This makes prolonged firing at range even more difficult. The blaster does have the benefit of its hip-fire accuracy being only slightly worse than its aim-down sight accuracy, allowing you to maintain high movement speed during gunfights. The CR-2's 3 attachment milestones are stock, ion shot, and night vision. Stock requires 50 CR-2 kills to unlock and reduces recoil, magnitude, angle, and first shot by 50%. This is a highly effective attachment that makes the blaster's recoil very manageable. Ion shot requires 150 CR-2 kills to unlock. The attachment reduces damage against troopers by 10% and increases damage against turrets, vehicles, and shields. This attachment can be useful against heavies, shields, and officer turrets, but the damage increase against vehicles is not particularly effective, and the damage decrease against troopers drastically decreases its DPS in gunfights. Night vision requires 250 CR-2 kills to unlock and allows you to locate enemies more easily in cover or dark conditions. Despite this, the added zoom makes it more difficult to use in close to medium ranged combat and can be more of a detriment. Usually I would just attach the stock, since the other 2 attachments are generally more detrimental than they are useful. There may be particular situations where the other attachments may be handy, such as darker maps or maps with a lot of partial cover like Endor, where the night vision scope can help identify enemies. You may also want to attach the ion shot on a map like Crate, where speeders are a prolific part of gameplay, and concentrating fire on these can be helpful for your team. Although, who knows when Crate will return. If you take a look at the TTK charts, at less than 10 meters, this CR-2 ranks as having the 4th fastest TTK versus 150 health enemies, and the 6th fastest against 200 health enemies. This is easily the most effective assault blaster in close-range combat. After 20 meters though, the damage drop-off is severe, and along with the high bolt deviation, means the blaster becomes practically useless. The CR-2 is geared towards inexperienced players or players who lack accuracy, as it is very easy to pick up and use. The high rate of fire and great cooling power means missing shots is not particularly punishing, and the player does not really need to manage the weapon's overheat. The high spread means accuracy is not too important, since if you don't aim quite on target, some of your shots are still likely to hit. Recoil also becomes a fairly negligible factor once the stock is attached, meaning this is another area where not a lot of skill is required. Due to the gun's lack of accuracy, I don't really enjoy using it. However, it can be useful in confined spaces or against reinforcements due to its high damage per second and damage output per overheat. Matching an easy-to-use gun with fairly mediocre performance overall means the blaster is pretty well balanced. However, since this is supposed to be the best close-quarters combat blaster for the class geared towards close-quarters combat, I believe the gun should receive some improvements. In order for the assault class to excel at its role, it needs to have the best, most versatile blasters. The CR-2 is currently beaten out by a number of competitors and lacks any kind of versatility. I believe the blaster should have its damage buffed and its spread angle drastically tightened so bolts hit the center of the crosshairs. To balance this, however, the ease of use must also be changed, increasing the recoil, making the gun more volatile and difficult to control, would achieve this. I would also like to see a range of other attachments such as laser sights and iron sights. Transmission over. Fulcrum out.